I'm Lynn.
I'm Amanda.
And this is The Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. We're cutting through the fluff and cracking open what it really takes to build a business and life that you actually want.
No gurus, no gatekeeping, just real talk, big action, and the badass energy you need to scale and slay.
Some episodes, it's just us.
And sometimes we bring on powerful guests with stories that'll hit home.
Either way, this is not about playing small.
It's about going all in.
Let's get after it. Hey there, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome to The Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. Today we're talking about sacrifice, and it might surprise you what we have to say today.
Yes, sacrifice. So we have many conversations about doing all the things, and I'm too busy with my lifing to be able to do this, or I have all of this, and it kind of goes along the busy line in some aspects and whatever. At the end of the day, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something. Sacrifice is part of the game in life, in my opinion, but also being an entrepreneur. You have to sacrifice things in order to get where you want, or you're not going to get there, or it's going to take you longer. And there's this saying around like, I'm going to put in the effort today. I'm not going to do all the partying and do all of this. I'm building the business today so that way I can have the life tomorrow. And I feel like my life is kind of like the epitome of that, because I had kids so young and I did so many things, and like I put in so much work in the beginning that I'm able to really enjoy things differently now. But it's the same with business. Like sacrifice is part of the game.
I can hear some of my family and even friends in the background in my head as you're talking, that I shouldn't have to sacrifice to get what I want. And I do understand that feeling of why should I have to give up in order to have a good life? I hear this a lot around like the mompreneur space of, I don't want to sacrifice time with my kids in order to grow my business and vice versa. And absolutely, it's your choice how much and to what extent you do any kind of sacrifice, because sacrifice doesn't mean that you're literally giving up absolutely everything. It can be selective sacrifice. You're choosing one little thing. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Ultimately, there is sacrifice, regardless of what it's for or how you're looking at it. You're sacrificing something for the other. If you want to be with your kids 24/7, you're sacrificing the growth of your business. If you want your business to grow, you're going to have a late night or sacrifice some sleep, sacrifice something. Something has to give. And I know that's not a popular or fun opinion, but you're not listening to our podcast to hear sunshine blowing up your butt here. We're not doing that on this podcast. There's always sacrifice. As Lynn said, if you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else, even if they're both good things. Absolutely. Yes, I want to grow my business. Yes, I want to go to Ibiza. Can't do them on the same day. Maybe you can, depending on how you built your business.
Sure.
We can.
Facts.
But the idea is that there's still something you're going to have to give. Like if you can't take a client call while you're at the club in Ibiza, okay, probably not. Maybe if it's meeting with somebody at the club.
Stop going down the rabbit hole.
The point is, even if they're two good things, even if it's two things you want, you might have to say no to something. It's part of life. You have to say no. Can't do everything all the time. Even for the people who say they can do everything. Sure, you can do everything, but you can't do everything at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because yes. And what I will also say about that is sacrifice isn't black or white either. And so I'll give you an example. Amanda and I, while she's here, we're traveling around. And so we just took a trip to KL. We're like, we're going to get a bunch of work done because we're going to be together. However, we also are going to sightsee, and then she's going to go off with her son and do things. I'm going to connect with my friends there and do different things. And we sacrifice actually some of our business time for the luxury of her being a parent and doing certain things, like even after they were home, just because her son was like tired, right, and done. And so needed mommy maybe a little bit more. So we sacrifice some things, but we also sacrifice, like I sacrificed not going out a couple of nights that way we could have that. Again, it's not that we weren't having fun and we weren't doing all of the things. It's just like, it's almost like this harmony because we're aware of the sacrifices that need to be made in order to be able to move the needle. And because we're in a big push at this time, we have to sacrifice things. I talk a lot about like my pecking order when I'm super stressed or super spread thin. It's like, I know the things that I have to do. Everything else is sacrifice at that time. And it doesn't mean that I don't love emails. If I'm looking at business, emails are the first things to be sacrificed. In my life. Oh, I just saw my email box. And I used to be the one who would have 0 emails in their email box.
I do not understand that. There's always a trail. However, it's same thing. There's always something that's going to give. We talk a lot about prioritization, and that's part of prioritization. What's your priority? What are you willing to sacrifice for something else. There's always something you'll sacrifice for something else. There's always something. Even if it's a Schindler's List scenario, the Sophie's Choice, like even if it's important, there's something you'll sacrifice for something else. And sometimes it's people you love. It's your best friend. Can't come out for your birthday. I have to do this. Like there's all sorts of things that you don't want to give up, but that's what sacrifice is. And you have to prioritize the greater eventuality that you're going for. You have to. There's no other way around it.
Because if you don't do the sacrifice of today for the results or reward tomorrow, that tomorrow becomes further and further out and non-existent, period. There's so much around this that I think, and I know this one might be triggering for some people because of exactly what you said, but it's facts. It's facts. If you want to hit those numbers, if you want to do things, it doesn't mean that you're sacrificing your momhood for your business. I think there's a rewiring or a mindset shift that need to happen around it. Yes, my kids are older. My kids are in their late 20s. God, that's so hard to say. Yes, my kids are 27, 28 at this point. But with that being said, like, I didn't sacrifice being a mom. I was a mom. I was there. I mean, their whole life, my biological kids, but even my stepdaughter, who I raised since she was 9, weren't around other families. So I sacrificed being around, common things, which was actually a pleasure, to put them in environments that were good for them. But in business, I had to sacrifice like some of my own personal time to be able to make sure that I'm being the best mom that I could be in my capacity, but also running businesses and doing all the things, because it's not like we had a unit of people, like a family unit around us to be able to help. That's a bit of a mindset and like pushing through. I had to get creative with my time to be able to do all of the things. We're not saying don't enjoy the now, because especially I preach about like being in the present moment, and that's definitely a thing. But let's take eating, for example. You want to fit into that dress or those pair of pants, but yet they don't fit you so good right now. So are you going to sacrifice eating that tasty French fry and maybe make a better choice right now? Are you going to sacrifice maybe sleeping in an hour and going to the gym? Are you going to sacrifice that afternoon sugar-filled caramel latte? Sorry, this is hers. She loves caramel lattes. And I ordered one the other day and I was like, I think I could do it. God, it was so sweet. I'm not a sweet person. She loves them. I love that you love them. Anyway, there's a cause and effect. There's a cause and effect. And even when you sacrifice something bad, something good can happen, right? So it's not all like bad or good and good and whatever. Just know that if you want to hit those numbers, those whatever, you're sacrificing something. You have to put in the work today to be able to get tomorrow. It's kind of like the saying about like planting the seed. That tree isn't going to come overnight. Like you're caring for it. You're nurturing it, you're watering it, you're doing all of the things and spending a lot of time. But then when it's a big oak tree, then you don't have to do as much maintenance and you have the freedom to be able to enjoy, if it's not an oak tree, let's say it's an apple tree, the fruits of your labor, right?
Yeah. I actually heard a quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's something to the effect of, the seed you plant today is not the fruit you eat tomorrow. It's a long game. There's lots of things, this is probably off character for me a bit in some ways, in that sacrifice is actually a privilege in a lot of ways. If you reframe your mindset, there is good in that, the ability to sacrifice. The fact that I have the choice to sacrifice certain things is a privilege. Not everybody gets the ability, the pleasure, the advantage of being able to choose the kinds of choices that we've created and the kinds of choices that you have to create. That's a privilege to get to sacrifice for a big dream. Not everybody has that. So if you can reframe yourself, not to the point where you're sacrificing into this like victim mentality or martyrdom, the martyr. Like, we don't want to sacrifice to that point, where we've spoken about that on previous podcast episodes. Listen to those. We don't want to sit in the victim. We don't want to sit in the martyr.
And if that's you, unfriend us.
Yeah. Or start trolling us and then get our readership up.
Go ahead, troll me.
Yeah. But there is a privilege in that sacrifice, not to the point where you're becoming a martyr, but there's a privilege in that. There's things that I get the choice to sacrifice. Amanda from 20 years ago would never have even dreamed. So that's a privilege. And if you can reframe your idea of sacrifice in that way, it will make it a lot less hard when you have to make the hard sacrifices, because there's always going to be hard sacrifices. It can't all be sunshines and rainbows. It can't, even in Hawaii. It's not that way.
Yeah. And own it. So I think that's the other aspect for those that are sacrificing, becomes this, that I think that goes into the victim and the martyrism, It's like, oh, I had to do this and I had to put my kids and get a babysitter for 3 hours or whatever. And I'm not mom shaming. That is not what I'm doing. Again, I'm a goddamn mom. And like, I remember having to be creative, like do the things, just own it and say, yeah, I had to build my business because I know it's really big and I feel so bad for you. And like the moms nowadays, because it's like vicious. I didn't give a shit back then, but
It's vicious.
Still, it's like, I think also because of accessibility, because of internet, but just own it. And if you have that, then guilt, if you have, which mom guilt is a thing, like I still get it. My kids are old, but if you own it and like get out of like the victim or like the woe is me or the martyrism kind of mentality, then you're actually able to use that time to be able to build what you need to build, to be able to give your kids more, to show them differently.
Yes. Getting out of that woe is me, you'll save so much time just letting go of that
100%.
one dialogue. Oh my gosh.
100%. I do have to give a quick shout out to my kids because, my kids saw. And for a lot of their lives, I was the only physical parent, the only mental parent there. Love my ex. He's a great man. He was a great dad, but he did other things, whatever. Long story short, we've had conversations like when they're older about like they saw the sacrifices that I made in order to be able to give them the best life, to be able to provide for them, to be able to show them like, and yes, they didn't like it in the moment. They didn't like a lot of things in the moment, but I don't know what world we live in. And I know this isn't a mom podcast, but what the F, like the kids aren't supposed to like everything. We're not supposed to like everything.
And some of the things I hated most when I was younger, I appreciate the most now. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank goodness my parents didn't give me that.
They see it and they honor that I still put them first when they needed to be first and that I still made space. And we can have both with that. There are sacrifices and there is that communication and understanding and really owning what we choose to be able to make the best out of what we have or what we curate to be able to get where we need to go or where we deserve to be or where we want to be.
Absolutely.
We're going to have some haters on this one.
That's okay. I'm all right. Bring the haters. Bring it. Sacrifice is a necessary part of life, of your business, of entrepreneurship. It is a necessary part. And if you keep fighting it, it's going to be a long fight.
Yeah. So are you going out and partying or are you staying in and like doing all the things? There's so many people talking about this. And I do have to make a comment because I know there are going to be some women up here who are going to be hating, but men don't like second think the sacrifices that they make. It's not. So for some men, like obviously the whole patriarchal, matriarchal like thing and the feminine and the masculine and whatever, I understand the differences and the kind of the nuances that everybody's more or less born with, but in that kind of aspect, but men also feel it. Men also understand. Like I remember actually having this conversation because my ex took a job in Afghanistan. It was a sacrifice for him. Although it was in his comfort zone, he really enjoyed it. And it was like him doing what he needed to do. He still felt that sacrifice. He didn't get to be around the kids when they were doing all the things. And even though it's more of a male thing to do than a female thing to do, they still make sacrifices. But a lot of men don't second guess themselves. They know that they're doing what's right for the greater good. So are you doing the best that you can do in the situations and doing what's right for the greater good and making sure that you're moving that needle forward or not? And you have to own you don't have to do shit, but we would suggest you to own your decisions.
And you know what? Being a leader means you have to make the hard decisions.
Yeah.
That's part of being an entrepreneur. That's part of being a leader in a company. It's a lot of sacrifice and it's a lot of making the tough decisions so that your team doesn't have to.
And your team is your family too.
Yeah, absolutely. The people around you. Embrace the sacrifice. It is inevitable and it will get you further faster if you go ahead and embrace it now, that there will be sacrifices, good and bad, that you have to make in order to get where you want to go if you're going to get there in any kind of efficient manner and not be having those regrets on your deathbed.
Yeah, I feel like we can keep going, but I think you got a point.
Yeah.
Sacrifice is part of it. But what sacrifices do you need to make? And it's not always, black and white. And it's not always whole, right? So maybe it's, I need to sacrifice 50% of this to gain 50% here. So just kind of keeping that in mind, because those people who are surpassing you in business and in life, it's because they maybe on a conscious level, but definitely on a subconscious level, they understand that and they're making those sacrifices.
So please share this with anybody who you think needs a little swift kick in the hiney, because we are all about those kicking people into their best self.
Yeah, absolutely. We told you that 2025 is going to be a bit more real and raw as we're stepping up our game, as we're around each other more. And yeah, please make sure you hit subscribe so you can hear all of our podcasts. You get in the know of what's going on. And if there's a topic that you want to hear us talk about, let us know. Drop it in the chat or in the DMs or give us a message.
Reach out, because we want to help you grow your business and your life to the best that it can be.
The badasserie it could be. The most badasserie. Yeah. Till next time, everybody.
Get after it.
Thanks for tuning in. But remember, listening is not doing.
Take what you heard today and move.
Share the episode, leave us a review, and tag us when you take action.
Head over to thepursuitofbadasserie.com and see how we're helping entrepreneurs get results without the fluff.
Until next time,
let's get after it.